All right, what's up, everybody? This is Boxingwave, and we're back with a quick prediction video. And this one is going to actually be pretty quick. There's a lot of fights going on this weekend, and I've done 3 breakdowns so far, and I should be covering all of the fights. We got Teofimo Lopez against Sandor Martin. We got Jared Anderson against Jerry Forrest breakdown. I put that out there, and I just finished recording Terrence Crawford against David Avanesian. So be on the lookout for all of those videos. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't already. Now, this weekend on DAZN, we have a British card between Josh Warrington and Luis Alberto Lopez. This is going to be for the IBF featherweight title. Okay, Josh Warrington is going to be defending the title that he just won against Kiko Martinez in his last fight. How did he get the opportunity to fight for that title? I don't know. I think it's a little bit ridiculous, especially because he lost to Mauricio Lara and then had a draw due to a headbutt clash, which I believe Josh Warrington initiated, but that's a different story. But yeah, this is a pretty good fight. All right, I believe it's a 50-50 fight. And I felt one way about the fight before I started doing film study. And after doing a little bit more research, I have changed my pick from what my original pick was going to be. And we'll get right into that. Now, Luis Alberto Lopez, if you don't know, I was able to do some film study and some research. He's a guy that is, he's 29-year-old Mexican fighter, 5'4", 66 and a half reach. All right, he's 26. He got 26 wins, 15 by knockout, and 2 losses. And he is coming off of like 9 straight wins, right? Not against the very best of the featherweight division, but he has 9 or so straight wins. And he's only lost to Ruben Villa, who I'm very familiar with, and I do actually like. I really try to find video of that fight, but I can't find it anywhere. It was on Showtime. There's a short highlight clip of the fight, but outside of that, I can't find anything. I was really looking forward to seeing that fight because it's a recent fight. It was in 2019, and Lopez lost this fight, and I wanted to see exactly how he lost the fight, so I couldn't get that. So I went back into the Abraham Montoya fight that was in 2018. Mind you, I'm looking at Lopez's record. This guy is fighting like 4 or 5, at least 3 times a year for the last X amount of years. I mean, you go through 2017, he had like 5 fights. You go to 2018, he had like another 5 fights. All right, he lost to Abraham Montoya. You go to 2019, he lost to Ruben Villa. That was his last loss on record. And he had about 5 fights in 2019. 2020, he only fought once, but in 2021, he fought 3 times. And in 2022, this year, this will be his 3rd fight this year. So this is a very active fighter, okay? And he's coming off of like 9 wins or so, all right? And included in that win, he fought undefeated and beat an undefeated Gabriel Flores Jr., who I personally think is overrated. But, I mean, it was a good win. I mean, he basically shut him out. All right, I was able to watch that fight, and he fought his fight, and he basically exposed Gabriel Flores Jr., you know? So that fight was last year. He had a win against an undefeated Christian Baez, who I'm not really familiar with, but it is an undefeated fighter. It's probably one of his best wins on his resume, especially in the 9 wins that he's gotten recently. The other wins here, you know, they all were knockout wins for him, you know, outside of those 2 undefeated fighters. No, actually, he stopped Baez too. He stopped pretty much everybody else, almost for the most part. But if you are unsure about your pick, because I am too, it's 50-50 to me. If you want to look at fights that are available on YouTube, and if you want to see some of the flaws that Lopez have going into this fight, look at the Andy Vences fight. That was a fight in 2020. It was a split decision win for Lopez. And let me tell you something. Lopez, if you want to see the flaws, watch that fight. Lopez was getting hit with the cleaner punches. I think he might have been outworking Andy a little bit, But Andy was definitely landing the cleaner counters in that fight. You know, Lopez is a type of guy that he can fight on the back foot, but he's best when he's coming forward and throwing a lot of punches. He has that shoulder roll. He likes to, put the punches together, throw a lot of combination. He has fast hands. You know what I'm saying? He is a good counter puncher, but he was getting hit with cleaner shots in that Vince's fight, in my opinion. Vince's just kept connecting with the overhand right, and even though Lopez was rolling the shots, a lot of them did connect from Vince's. He was throwing them over the top and connecting with the right hand. Also, another big issue with Lopez, his chin. Sometimes when he charges in, sometimes he walks into shots, his chin is up in the air. So he has to be very, very careful with that. Also, if you want to look at another fight that he lost that is available on the internet, 2018 fight against Abraham Montoya, it was a split decision loss. You can see in that fight that basically Lopez, who starts out very, very fast in that fight, and he starts out very fast in most fights, in that fight, he burned out. And Montoya was able to pick up the pieces and take them apart in the later rounds, mid to later rounds. All right, so if you want to see flaws in Lopez, and if you're unsure, because I feel like a lot of people are basing it, just from what I'm seeing online, some of the comments that I'm reading, a lot of people is basing the outcome of this fight off the Gabriel Flores fight and off the fact that Lopez is coming off a lot of wins. You got to look at these fights because these fights tell the full story too. You got to look at the losses too. You got to look at the split decision wins. You got to look at those fights because you could see some of the flaws there. I wish we had the Ruben Villa fight, but we don't. But check that Montoya fight out because you can see once Lopez gasses out, he becomes a lot more vulnerable, easy to outwork, easy to hit. That shoulder roll doesn't seem to be as effective defensively, and he does have a lot of fights against guys with losing records, guys that don't have great records and stuff like that, not world-class fighters. So, with that being said, Josh Warrington, all right, not a big fan of him. Think he's a good fighter, but not a big fan of him, not his style. He's coming off of the win against Kiko Martinez. And look, Martinez is always dangerous. I've been watching him for years. I've been covering his fights for a long time on this channel. And Martinez is a dog, you know what I'm saying? If he's great at fighting good boxers that he can walk down and put the pressure on to them. We saw what happened. Listen, we're not going to get into Kiko. We know what he can do. The thing is, if you're able to push Kiko back, force him to fight backwards, all right? Kiko doesn't really use the jab. He's good at cutting off the ring. He's good at coming in and bullying you and throwing power shots and stuff. But for the most part, he's not that good if he's going to fight someone that's going to push him back. And stylistically, Josh Warrington, that was the perfect fight for him. If you watch the fight, if you watch Josh's fight with him compared to everybody else, Kiko was perfect for him. Kiko doesn't have any jab. Kiko doesn't have any counter punching ability. He wasn't taking advantage of the fact that Josh likes to fight outside of a high guard. He keeps his hands very high, not really active, but he just keeps his hands very high, likes to come straight forward, and no one, Kiko wasn't really able to take take advantage of that. Guys like Mauricio Lara, guys like Kid Galahad, those guys was able to set traps for Josh Warrington, who likes to come forward very aggressively, throw wide shots. Whereas Kiko really didn't have an answer for anything that Josh was doing. All right, so with that being said, I think that Lopez is going to start off faster. I think Lopez, full of energy. We're going to see the combinations. We're going to see the hand speed. You know what I'm saying? We're going to see him rolling and stepping around Warrington, who's going to be coming straight forward. So he's going to look good early. The question is, how long can he maintain that? How long can he maintain? Josh, say what you want. I don't think he won all of his fights. I think Galahad edged out the fight. I think that Mauricio Lara, the whole situation with the second fight with the intentional headbutts, I didn't like it. But I gotta give him, I gotta call it as I see it. I don't know how long Lopez maintains his early lead that I think he's gonna have. I think Lopez, while he's fresh, he's gonna look better. I think he is the better boxer between the two, And I think if he's coming forward and he's able to back Josh up and force Josh to fight on the back foot, then he wins because I think he's a superior boxer. But if Josh is able to turn the tables, maybe after a few rounds and push forward, come forward, throw those combinations, just outwork Lopez. Because Josh, one thing about him, I think he has a lot of flaws, but I think he has a good work rate. I think he comes back, and I think he edges out a decision in this fight. All right. I originally thought Lopez was going to win, but once I started looking at his fights, because I was a little bit more unfamiliar with him, once I started looking at his fights, I realized that I think there's flaws in there in his game that I think Josh Warrington can take advantage of. I think the key thing to this fight is who's coming forward, and who's going backward. I think if either fighter is forced to go backwards for the majority of this fight, they lose the fight. If Lopez can continue, I think he's going to start out better. So if he can start out at a good pace to where he's the one that's coming forward, he's the one that's slipping and countering Josh Warrington, all right? If he's winning the early rounds and if he can find a way to keep that going and have his condition and his stamina is at a decent pace as the fight goes on, I think he definitely wins the fight, all right? But if Josh Warrington starts to get physical, use some of those shoulder bumps and those headbutts, lunging in with his head. If he starts doing that, starts pushing Lopez off, getting him to the ropes, throw those combinations, all right? If he makes it his fight similar to what we saw in the Kiko Martinez fight, I can see him winning this one without too much trouble, especially if he's able to slow Lopez down and wear him out. Lopez, good boxer, but he doesn't fight on this level that much, And these fighters that he's either beaten or he's beaten or had close fights with, I noticed that after their fight, these guys end up losing the fights right after, from the undefeated guys that he's fought and, the close split decision fighters that he's fought. These guys go on a losing streak right after fighting Lopez. And it does tell somewhat of a story because how good were those fighters before they got to Lopez? And if you look at their resume, you can see that they really wasn't that good. Guys like Isaac Lowe, guys like Gabriel Flores, guys like Andy Vences, Christian Baez, all of these guys, they got good resumes, but they had good resumes at the time they fought Lopez. But after losing to Lopez or having a close fight against Lopez, you can see that they didn't have much success after that fight. It seems like Lopez was always the step up for them, and they really weren't that good to begin with. I think the eye-catching name that's on Lopez's resume here is Ruben Villa. I think that's probably the best fighter that's on his resume, in my opinion. All right, but that's how I feel about it. I just think that Taylor is gonna find a way to win this one. The fight is gonna be in the UK, so I think that if the fight happens to be really, really, really close, and it's gonna be close like the Kid Galahad fight was, I think Josh is gonna pull off the win. But it really depends on who's coming forward. That is the key to this fight. Who is going to be coming forward this fight? I think Lopez is a slight underdog for this fight, as he should. It's almost 50-50. I was thinking about dropping a little bit of money on him, but to be honest, I think Josh Warrington is going to find a way to pull it out and get the victory here. But he's going to struggle early for sure. to see if he can turn around. All right. So anyway, that is my quick prediction for this fight. I have Josh Warrington winning this one by a decision. Might even be a split decision, but I think he's gonna find a way to edge it out in a tough battle. Make sure you guys subscribe, like the video if you like the video, thumbs it up, and share the video if you could. I'm out. Peace.